After Hours.
On this episode of the History of the Chorus After Hours podcast, we discuss the popular band from Victoria, British Columbia, Canada, known as Spiritbox. Make sure to follow us on Twitter at IsSurvivedByPro for news and latest episode postings. And make sure to subscribe to the show, leave us a 5-star review, and write us a comment on YouTube or whatever podcast service you're using. Make sure to check us out on TikTok and give us a follow at IsSurvivedByProductions. And if you'd like to see us do some live streams, leave us a comment or tweet us the keyword stream. Now, without further ado, let's start the show.
The devil is in Atlanta, army surrounded.
Welcome back to the History of the Chorus After Hours podcast, where each and every episode I, Curtis, sit down with an avid listener to the pop of this very podcast, the History of the Chorus podcast. My good friend, Erik. How's it going, Erik?
It's going right along.
Man, I'm not even going to skip a beat. I'm going to jump right in. It's the end of the year, Erik.
We're getting on in there.
You know what happens at the end of the year?
Existential dread?
That too. What's going to happen next year? Oh, no.
Taxes are due.
Taxes are due. The political climate is crazy. No. More importantly, everybody gets their Spotify Wrap back.
Sweet.
Yes.
The bright spot in my dread.
And there you go. My depression is
I was cured by Spotify Wrapped.
Nice. Cool. Erik, will you give us a little taste of your Spotify Wrap?
So I don't feel like the top artists are going to surprise anybody.
I said Spotify Wrap. Spotify Wrapped. Yeah.
Just add a couple extra D.
Just give us the year in review on Spotify for you. How about that? Why do they call it Wrapped? Why don't you just say year in review on Spotify?
Because they put a little bow on it.
Yeah, anyway, go ahead.
So we'll do the backwards order like I like to do.
Is it 5?
We'll start with 5.
Okay, number 5.
He is legend.
Okay. Oh, yeah. We're going to see a pattern here, right?
A little bit. Okay. 3 out of the 5 here.
That's right. Yeah. Okay.
So number 4.
Not
one on the podcast.
Not on the podcast.
Sabaton.
Okay.
I would classify them as power metal. I would kind of classify them as like the power metal band right now. Got a lot of old history involved with them. They talk a lot about World War I.
Did they do one on World War II? Or was it just World War I?
They did. They have an album called Heroes, and they talk a lot about stuff that happened during World War II.
Okay.
More specific events more than anything.
Okay.
But World War I, they have 2 full-length albums about World War I.
Whoa. Okay.
So pretty neat. Neat.
That's one that you told me about a couple of years ago, and I just keep forgetting about them.
So I like them. I think they're pretty fun. But anyway, so number 3. Going with my thing here, Oh Sleeper.
Nice.
Kind of something we've talked about.
We've already done it. We've already hit the mark for this episode. We've talked about Oh Sleeper.
Yes. Number 2 is The Anchor.
Nice.
I really like them.
How many times this year alone did you see them?
I just saw them once this year.
Okay.
But if they come back, I will go see them again.
I mean, they do come to Tulsa a lot. So.
They put on a really good show. I enjoyed listening to them.
Oh, man.
So, number 1.
I
don't think this will be a surprise to anybody but my mama. Norma Jean.
Shocking. A surprise to your mama. You listen to Marilyn Monroe? I didn't know she cut an album. Yeah, it's just she's just a one-hit wonder. Happy birthday, Mr. President. No, nothing was going on there at all, man. Anyway, nice. It's your top 5. Okay, what else you got?
Top 5 songs.
Okay.
You ready for this?
Number 5.
We've got Oh Sleeper with End Seekers.
Ooh. Doom. Yep, that's a good one.
I think on a lot of these, I will say, once I listen to an album, these ones come on at the end of that album, and I'm not going to skip them.
Yeah.
They're going to play through.
They're your pneumonia hawk.
Yes. Especially the number one song is my pneumonia hawk.
Okay.
But we'll get to that in a minute.
Okay.
Number 4.
Number 4.
Orphan Twin. Norma Jean.
Nice. Is that the first song or second song?
It's the first song.
Okay.
That's probably why it's so high. As I go up and I click on Orphan Twin, I just let it play through.
Okay, yeah.
Because I think a lot of these go off of, not just amount of times you heard them, but, clicks or reactions or whatever to them too, I think.
For me personally, that was a great comeback album. In terms
really
of, like,
was.
we talked about before on that episode, it's like, it just kind of dipped for me on, what was it, Polar Similar. Some good stuff on there, but it just felt like, oh boy, we're turning the corner now. Norma Jean's dying, no! And then, I was pleasantly surprised by All Hail.
And then they didn't let down either on, was it Spearmint Revolt?
Oh, their newest album?
Yeah. That's off
Death
of there.
Rattle.
Death Rattle, yeah.
Yeah.
Spearmint Revolt's off that, but anyway.
Yeah.
They didn't let me down.
It's a good album. It's just one of those where it's like, I don't like the trends that you're using electronically.
Right.
There's still some good stuff on
as
it.
a whole, they didn't feel like they were heading towards the dumpster fire yet.
We'll see what they come out with next.
Right. That's always the question,
That's
right?
when we figure out, okay, are you going to, yeah.
So, number 3.
Number 3.
If you got it at 5, you got it at 50.
The milk. The puking of the milk.
Yeah, that was a fun
was
video too. Anyway, also Norma Jean if you're not of the initiated here.
Yeah. That's two out of the 3 so far. They're Norma Jean.
Number 2.
Number 2.
Also Norma Jean.
Okay.
Sword in Mouth, Fire Eyes.
Such a good one, man.
So good. That's pretty close for my Pneumonia Hawk, though, as far as comes on right after almost every album I listen to. But the next one beats it by far.
You hear that guitar feedback, and you're like, oh, here we go.
Oh, here we go.
Sword in mouth. Sword in mouth.
So, number 1.
Number 1. I already know what it is.
Blueprints for Future Homes.
That's not what I thought it was. I was thinking of the song right after that one. What's it called? It's right after Blueprints. We talk about it all the time. About the tongue. Small Spark versus Great Forest Fire. Yeah, I was thinking it was that one.
Yeah, Blueprints for Future Homes comes on a lot, apparently over 100 times this year.
But that's a great one, too.
It is a good song. I enjoy it. That's my Pneumonia Hawk, apparently.
Like miracles, like clockwork. Yeah, nice. I love that intro, man, where it's just like, it says that, and it's like it rewinds, and he says it again real quick. That's interesting. Okay. So, cool. That was number 1, right?
Yes.
All right. What else you got?
So, apparently, they have these top listeners. In other words, you're in the top 1%. Mm-hmm. So, you listen to more music from that particular band than 99% of their other listeners.
Sheesh.
Evidently, I have 14 of those.
Holy cow.
So,
are you naming all 14?
I might as well. I mean,
number 14.
I mean, just off the top, no particular order.
Yeah.
And a lot of these do have ties into your original podcast, the History of the Cores podcast.
The pop-up.
So we'll get to that in a minute. So we got on, like I said, no particular order, Sabaton. Again, no surprise there. Okay. He is Legend. Mm-hmm. The Ghost Inside.
Okay.
If you haven't heard that, you might
haven't seen that one coming. Okay.
I enjoyed it.
That was kind of out of left field. All right.
We got Silverstein.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to talk about this particular one today, Spiritbox.
Mm-hmm.
Josh will like this. Rise Against.
Oh, boy. Yeah, boy.
You will legitimately like this, Touche Amore.
Yeah, baby.
We got Under Oath.
Okay.
Here's another one for Josh, Memphis Mayfire.
Oh, boy. I don't want to hear it. I won't have it. As a direct quote.
So then we got my shirt today, Unleash the Archers.
Very nice. Very nice. Female led, right?
Yes.
We didn't even mention that one on the last episode.
She's more like that power metal
area.
Kind of over in that.
Does she do any screams?
No, she does not.
More
but
just like kind of.
She has a backup vocalist in the band that does.
Okay. That's cool, though.
Well, he's like guitarist, but anyway. That man's screams are unearthly.
That man screams.
They are really amazing.
Scream, he means scream.
Yes, they are like some kind of demon. Good stuff. But let's see. We got Wage War.
Okay.
Newer one on my radar. I had a friend say, "Hey, go check them out," and I went on a full deep dive on them.
I think I remember you talking about them in the Silverstein episode.
Yeah, I went full deep dive on those guys. I kind of like them.
Okay.
And then we got Era.
Okay. I remember you talking about them before.
Yeah, I like them too. I would classify kind of Wage War and Era right now as like definitive. This is your middle of the road metalcore.
Okay.
So those two.
That's not female led, right?
No, those are both dudes.
Okay.
To the best of my knowledge.
Or is it like a Seosin situation where you're like, is that girl?
As far as Era goes, and there's a couple others I've been listening to here recently too, it's like if Seosin grew up, his voice got just a little deeper, and then he started to, heavy, lower screams.
Oh, that'd be interesting for me, Anthony Green.
But still having kind of that higher range as far as the clean vocals go.
Yeah, okay.
That's what I like Era, because it kind of takes me back to Seosin a little bit,
Yeah, okay.
but updates it too.
Cool.
Then I got Orden Ogan to wrap that out.
Huh?
Orden Ogan.
Who?
It's a power metal-ish band.
Okay.
And they have some really weird, heavy themes. They've got one whole album about vampire in the Old West.
Nice.
It's really strange. They've got another one about it's like an android, and they got a song called Heart of the Android, stuff like that. They don't stick with one thing. They go from Old West to space.
Okay. Yeah.
Pretty cool.
If it's a topic, they're going to cover it.
Yeah, that's kind of the way they're at right now. They got a couple songs that are just really fun sing-alongs that I like. Off that Old West album, they've got I Am the Gunman.
Okay.
Or The Gunman, I think is what the name of the song's called, but really good song. I enjoy that one a lot.
Cool.
If you catch me in the middle of the road singing that, just walk on by. I'm having a good time.
Come on, kids. Let's not look at this guy.
So interesting. I'm not a top listener of my top 3 bands, apparently.
You're not?
Or they didn't make messages.
Okay.
I'm not sure which.
Okay.
That being said, looking at a different spot, number 14, I found Alexis on Fire. Apparently, I just didn't get a message from them. But on the merch store side of things, you get 15% off for being a top listener.
What?
Yeah, man.
Nice.
I'm making bank, or so these guys are anyway.
But you can only use that on our newest album, Otherness. Yeah, no thank you. Not going to have it. I'd like to return this 15% off, please.
Actually, that's a lot of their stuff on there.
Nice.
But it's like Spotify store. But anyway.
Cool.
So I thought that was interesting that I'm a top listener of 14 different bands.
This dude's committed to Spotify.
I like listening to music. I listen to a lot of music.
Where's probably like your most like popular like either time of day or like maybe you're doing something or what's that one time where you like I can find you and you're always listening to Spotify?
When I get home in the afternoon, I'm probably, if I go out, tinkering on something in the garage or mowing the lawn or whatever, I got Spotify in.
Okay.
100%.
Yeah.
Most of the afternoon, I'm listening to Spotify doing something.
Okay. Cool.
Like I said, I can't remember how many hours they said I listened, but it was like something ridiculous, like 39 days straight.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
So, it was over a month.
He spent over a month listening
I can remember
to music.
that, yeah. Straight. Back to back.
Yeah, the sad thing is there's people that are way worse off, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah. There are people who apparently are much higher percentage than me.
Man, that's crazy.
That's what kills it for me. I'm like, wow, that's insane.
No, I'm good. I only listen for a month.
Straight.
Straight.
Back to back. No sleep.
Back to back, no sleep. Cool, man. Was there anything else that wrapped?
Oh, that's pretty much it.
Nice. That was Eric's Spotify wrap for 2023.
What about you? Did you figure out if you had a top band?
I know
you don't usually use all Spotify.
Say if I use Spotify, it's usually like for like the bands that we're like working on. So it's always History of the Core stuff, and I rarely ever use it. So yeah, it's History of the Core stuff. Norma Jean. I think Norma Jean, Cancer Bats was a big one on there too. I think A Life Once Lost was also a big one on there. A lot of times, like I'll use Spotify like when we get to the end of like a series, and just put it on shuffle for like the whole discography, and just kind of like let it go. So yeah, I end up using YouTube more or Bandcamp more than anything. But the biggest thing is I don't want to pay for Spotify.
Ooh.
Yeah, I know. It's one of those where it's like, okay, come on, bro, get with the times, But I live a weird
figure
life.
I listen to it enough that I get my
To
money back
justify
worth it. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's probably what I just probably need to go ahead and break down. Just be like, all right,
I don't do
I have
commercials.
my money. I mean, the commercials don't kill me. I mean, it's whatever. I don't really care. But some of them are weird though, and I'm like, I don't care about that. I don't care about your Viagra commercial. I'm good to go.
Maybe in a few years, but not right now, dang it!
Come back when I'm 60, man. All right, well, that's enough of this episode. Was brought to you by Viagra. Anyway, all right, today, Eric, we are talking about the band known as Spiritbox. This is kind of a connection from the previous episode where we talked about I Wrestled a Bear Once. There's some crossover from a couple of members of that band into this one, and we'll kind of talk about that when we get to it. But before we do, I made a plea with you listeners at the end of the last episode, the I Wrestled a Bear Once episode, and I'm going to start this episode with a plea. I just want to start by saying, people, please, 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 please do yourself a favor and go listen to the full discography of I Wrestled a Bear Once. Eric suggests that you start at, Late for nothing. My mind was like all or nothing, or I don't know what the other one was, but it wasn't late for nothing. I think that was the other one, late for nothing. That's a good spot to start to. If you're more kind of like into kind of like the partycore scene and craziness and what's happening, then yeah, go start at the very beginning of the discography. But overall, listen to it. In the end, wherever you start, doesn't matter. Just listen to the whole thing. Appreciate it, because I feel like a lot of people know Spiritbox. Not a lot of people know I Wrestled a Bear Once. They are connected.
Even more people don't know they're connected.
And that's the other thing too. They are connected. Are you listening to me? They are connected. And
You'd know that if you listened to the original podcast.
there you go, man. The Pop podcast, the History of the Chorus podcast.
Check it out.
Yeah, check it out now. Available wherever a podcast is sold near you.
For free.
For free, man. No paywall here. Not yet. Maybe. No. I'm not saying that, if you like Spiritbox and you're going to like I Wrestled a Bear Once. Probably not. But it's one of those just appreciate the history of it. Because that's what we do. We put the history in the history of the chorus. So, anyway, that's my plea. Go listen to it. All of it. Of I Wrestled a Bear Once. All right, Eric. As always, start out with the 2 introduction questions for each episode here. How were you, Eric, introduced to the band Spiritbox?
I believe it was 2021.
Okay.
The world was a mess.
Ooh, yes, it was.
A friend of mine said, "Hey, you got to look at this new band." And I said, "Okay." So I did.
Very depressed. I guess. We were all living that Eeyore life, though.
Right. Well, I guess so.
Everything sucks.
So yeah, I went and tried them out, and I found that I kind of enjoyed them.
What was the first song or album that you listened to?
It would have to be Eternal Blue.
Was it Eternal Blue?
So very likely, starting from the beginning, it would have been Sun Killer.
Okay.
And that
It's a good
hook.
opener. Yeah, it's a good opener for sure. So how would you describe Spiritbox to a brand new listener? Although I don't know if there's very many brand new listeners anymore, because they seem very popular.
They are pretty popular. A couple million monthly listeners that I looked a couple nights ago.
Yep.
So, final form of Iwabo.
Final form. Transformation.
So,
It's like the Pokemon stages.
yes,
Oh, he's transitioning. Yes.
he's the third evolution. So, anyway, if you don't know Iwabo as a whole, I would say they are a female-led metalcore band. But I do kind of like the arena core title that y'all kind of put on it here.
I think it fits.
I think it works pretty well. And I would throw in even like a little bit of pop core or pop metal.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah.
Especially getting closer to the end.
Yeah.
And then
driving that way.
I mean, to the point of even like EDM at a certain point in their discography as well. Yeah. But we'll talk about that in a minute.
If y'all hear us say Iwabo, that's I wrestled a bear once. Just for Anyway, Iwabo equals I wrestled a bear once. Anyway, go ahead, Eric.
It's an acronym.
It's an acronym. That's what we do.
So, but yeah. Anyway, that kind of covers most of what they've done so far.
Okay.
Because they've had one full-length album and they've had 12 different genres.
Okay.
Fantastic.
So, I mean, let's just cut right to the chase there. Okay. Josh asked me on the original podcast. I didn't really have an answer at that time. So here it is. Josh, turn the volume up. Make sure you stop what you're doing because you're about to get your answer. He's probably like, I don't remember what the question was that I asked, man. As he puffs on his E-vape. What question? Well, here's the question. Josh wants to know if you like the band or not. Do you like Spiritbox?
I do like them.
Okay. Are you like a huge fan? Are you just like, I just like them? Do you like them? Or do you like them?
I just like them.
Okay. He just wants to be friends.
Right.
Sorry, Courtney.
Yeah, just,
I'll be more of a friend. Yeah.
So I do feel like her voice matured quite a bit from I Wrestled a Bear Once days. The music as a whole seems to follow her really well. Mm-hmm. If they do go full-blown EDM or pop whatever in the future, I'm totally out. I'm not going to follow just because it's this one person that I think is kind of cool. No, I like their music kind of where it's at. I like the heavier end of it, to be honest, for the most part. But yeah, anyway.
Well, and I think we talked about it in the original episode. So she commented, I think when they got to Eternal Blue, that she, it's like, it's in my notes. Maybe not. I thought I had it in my notes. But when they got to Eternal Blue, she had a comment in an interview about, finally, after all these years, I feel like I'm able to show the real Courtney. And it's kind of like, not that she was like pretending in like I wrestled a bear once, or anything like that. But
she was filling somebody else's shoes.
Exactly. You're filling somebody else's shoes. We talked about it in the last episode. She didn't get to have really much input on Late for Nothing. On Hail Mary, she started getting some input on it, and that's where you kind of see it transition into, Spiritbox. We talked about that as well. But now it's like, up until Eternal Blue from about 2017 until 2021, you're just kind of putting out some singles, some different, you're trying to work on it. And then once you get to Eternal Blue and you finally get your first full-length release, I'm sure it's probably like a weight off your shoulders. Like, this is the true me. This is who I am. And I think it goes back to her early days of like early childhood of singing in church, because she's talked about, that's where my voice was. It's kind of a church, choir type voice, and now I'm getting to finally put that out there on Eternal Blue. So, question for you, Eric. This is how she's a big fan of this artist. I know that. He's rubbing his face already. He's like, please don't ask the question. Please don't. Courtney LaPlante, the Beyonce of metal?
Unfortunately and honestly, maybe.
Oh, man.
With a little emphasis on yes.
She's a big fan of Beyonce, man.
And she kind of might be heading that way as far as,
Well, I've watched
being the face of that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But, being a representative doesn't necessarily mean you represent everything in, quote, metal, too.
Right. I've seen her on stage, like, a live performances, and she's kind of like, the way she dances and everything, I'm like, that's Beyonce. So, she's definitely bringing some influence over. But that's at least my opinion, was that she's the Beyonce of metal. So
I do see a little bit of, there's some strings you could draw lines to here,
Oh, yeah. She's getting those hips in it.
But do they lie?
No, they don't, Shakira. They don't.
Oh, man.
No, they don't. All right, so here's your first question, Eric. Poor guy. went 0 for 2 on the I Wrestled a Bear Once episode. So we'll see. He likes this band. He likes Spiritbox. We're going to find out how
I also
well
like
he knows
Silverstein.
Spiritbox.
I went 0 for 2 on them. Too,
Did
I
you really?
believe. I think so.
I know you didn't get the Burlington Coat Factory question. That was a good one. I was so proud of myself. I was like, yeah, this is a perfect trivia question, man. Okay, here you
Completely
go.
off the wall.
You may have gotten... No, I don't think you got the first one either. The first
No,
one
because
was
you asked about...
what instrument he played.
Yeah.
And I think you said either like keyboard or piano or guitar maybe or something.
Well, I was like... Because I knew he played guitar back... I've seen him play guitar on
Yeah,
stage.
he plays guitar, yeah.
And I was like, well, maybe keys back in the day. I don't know. So I said keys.
Yeah.
Did not
Bass.
realize he was a bassist.
All right.
Or
Here's
even a fill-in.
There you go. Here's your first question for Spiritbox. What was the name of Courtney's previous band before joining Iwabo or I Wrestled Bear Once and starting Spiritbox? You got this, man. I know you do.
Before Iwabo?
Before Iwabo, she was in a band with her brother. They put out one EP. It was called, I think it was called the Power Bomb EP.
Of course it was.
Mm-hmm. Power Bomb. Who could it be? What could it be? It's one word.
So it wouldn't be explosions in the sky. That's another band.
Check the box there. We got our post rock in also. Now we just need. Well, we already talked Silverstein, so check that one too. Now I just need to work in an "Oh God, the Aftermath" reference. Okay. Care to venture a guess?
I know it's gonna be like a.
It's gonna be
Hit
one of those
me
you're
in the side of the head and yeah, it's like dang, but I hadn't got it.
You don't got it.
I don't got it.
All right. The band name, Courtney's first band, was known as Unicron. Kind of a play on of unicorn. Just switch a couple of letters there. Unicron.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like one word.
Yeah, she was in that band with her brother, and they actually, when she was in that band, that's when she met her husband, Mike Stringer, who was in I Wrestled a Bear Once for Hail Mary, and then is now the guitarist for Spiritbox. So yeah, I think he actually joined the band Unicron for like very briefly. I mean, because they weren't around for very long, but yeah. 0 for 1. Disappointed.
It's a uni shark.
It's a uni shark. All right. Josh labeled this band throughout the episode as the original episode of the History of the Cores podcast. Go check that one out. He labeled the band throughout that episode as, quote, label-friendly metal and, quote, deathcore light, which always made me think of like Miller Lite or Coors Light. I'd like to throw the label, you've already kind of mentioned it, but I'd like to throw the label, quote, arena core out there. Do you have your own label to categorize them?
I do think Deathcore Light addresses like the lyrics and themes and whatnot and stuff that they're doing. I do like arena core. I've kind of mentioned that a little bit. That seems to be, at least during Eternal Blue, what they're kind of aiming for.
Yeah.
But I'll throw in pop core or pop metal, especially, like I said, some of their newer stuff.
Yeah.
And, yeah. I don't know if I like pop core or pop metal.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know if I like where it's
a
headed.
genre.
But hey, it's her music, and if it makes her happy, dude, go for it.
yeah.
And apparently she's selling it, so.
But I might be getting off the train.
Yeah, especially if we
pull
go
the string. Let me off.
if we go rotoscope in that direction, I'm out.
Yeah.
But anyway,
it's gonna be tough. Well, so talking of like sound and genre and everything, we've only gotten one full-length album so far, right? They've been around since 2017, gotten a bunch of, singles, a couple of EPs, stuff like that. It sounds like they're, through their discography so far, they're really just like trying to like figure out what they want to do sound-wise. Would you agree with that?
yes.
Okay, so I mean, just kind of like talk to me about the change. I mean, it's like we're like, I don't know. I'm sitting there and I'm like, you got to pick a lane before your next full length, right? Because that was one of our big complaints in the original episode was, I just don't know, like Josh was saying, is like, I just don't know like what I'm listening to because like there's no definitive sound here. It just sounds like I'm listening to years upon years upon years of experimentation. And, you know, it's one thing where it's like, if you're early in your career, okay, but it's like by the time you get to your second album, it's like, I need to know what's your goal here? What genre, what sound are you driving for? But just kind of talk to me about the changing of their sound so far throughout their discography.
So their first EP, what was it, 2017, I believe?
Yep.
Lighter as a whole compared to the full-length Eternal Blue, except for the last two songs, which are almost holdovers from, like, I Wrestled a Bear Once.
Yeah.
Like, those two are decently heavy on that one. The Collection of Singles EP, which was the next EP with a chunk of songs on there, feels more like the full length as a whole, as far as sounds and everything like that go. It's got your ups and your downs from same thing, kind of peaks and valleys. Eternal Blue, kind of the same thing, got your peaks and valleys. Fairly middle of the road metalcore, as far as sound goes for me.
Yeah.
Then you get to Rotoscope. Oh boy. Anyway, I labeled that as, quote, EDM.
Okay.
And that's not electronic dance metal or dance music. That's electronic dance metal.
Okay. Okay.
Redefining some terms today.
Okay. The new EDM.
Yeah, and I don't think I like it either. So, the Fear of Fear EP. The Fear of Fear EP.
It's hard to say, right?
It is harder than I thought.
The Fear of Fear.
So,
Fear.
As a whole, with a couple exceptions, seems to be a little bit lighter than the previous. It's starting to sound like pop metal or pop core even. As a whole, I don't know. I feel like they're starting on a path like Bring Me the Horizon. You know, Bring Me the Horizon started out as, I would classify that early stuff as death metal.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got Pray for Plagues and stuff like that. That's, as you and Josh talk about, like how epically heavy back in the day, like who can scream the gnarliest and the loudest and who's going to rip their throat out by themselves on stage. You know, who's going to do that first?
Yep.
And they went from that to being literally hearing, I think it was Avalanche on the radio.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's where we're heading with Spiritbox. You know, her days with I Wrestled a Bear Once was pretty heavy. She moved into Hail Mary, which was, again, getting almost death metal-y, and now we're heading for the radio, I think.
Right. Yep, I agree. I mean, I'm sure they probably are on the radio, to be honest.
It's very likely. I mean, you got songs like, I think it's Constance and stuff like that are pretty light.
Yeah.
But also have kind of a singy-longy.
Secret Garden?
Yeah.
Yeah.
As a whole, I do like that song, but anyway.
Funny story about that one. We'll talk about it when we get to the music video one. Okay, so when we were in high school, back in the day,
100 years ago,
social media was in its infancy. You know, we had MySpace. That was a big thing. We talked about in a couple of episodes ago, we talked about the MySpace street teams. That was a good throwback.
You make me feel old.
I know, buddy. I know. But it's okay. Tom will always be your friend on MySpace.
Yes.
You know, Facebook was, you know, just getting started. You know, back then, yeah, we used some social media, but it was more of, you know, getting out there, playing local shows. Josh even made mention of spray painting your band's name on stuff, to each his own. You know, now in the new age of social media, and I put in quotations, and with a nice loan from the Canadian government, Spiritbox was able to, yeah, right. America, hello, wake up. Spiritbox was able to go without playing shows for the first few years, which is pretty interesting for a band that's trying to start out. Now, obviously, you have some foundation already coming from another band that was, you know, pretty decently big.
I mean, whether the people listen to them a lot or not, they had notoriety.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, especially back when Krista was in the band, I Wrestled a Bear Once was doing something nobody else was
Exactly.
doing. Ladies at that point in time were not doing the heavy vocals.
Right. Exactly. Yep.
So, anyway, go ahead. Sorry.
No, you're good. So yeah, they weren't playing shows for the first few years of their existence, but at that time they were recording, in their home studio and producing music videos to accompany their singles. So it's kind of a different route than maybe what we had back in the day. But I just kind of want to talk about comparing those two ways of building your brand and your band, and how far we've come in just really a short amount of time. When you think about it, it's like I'm talking about almost. Well, let's see. I mean, I'm talking like 2007, 2008, 09 era kind of. When we were in high school, to even just like now, or even like when they first started in 2017. I mean, that's only 10 years between those two. So just kind of talk to me about like how far we've come. Like I said, in a really short time of those two different avenues.
I mean, within a half of a century at this point, we've gone from handing out mixtapes at your local venue,
right?
Handing out a CD with your name sharpied on it to a local band or a local radio station, said, "Play this,
please play this."
To literal YouTube sensations being the big name artist, the big name artist,
right?
And we've come a long way in, like you said, a relatively very short time. I think it's actually great that a young aspiring band can promote their music really easily and for free.
Right.
I mean, it doesn't cost anything to upload to YouTube or, Spotify or anything else, the way I understand it anyway. Right. So you can get your name out there, you can get your music out there really easily comparatively. Like I said, the old days, you're beating the streets. You're out there really putting the work in.
Right.
And not that uploading stuff is not difficult at times. I definitely know bugs in the system and whatnot, but comparatively, I can hit upload and walk away from it. I don't have to be on the street. Hey, listen to my band. Hey, listen, please listen to my band.
Please, sir, I said, where are you going? Don't make me chase you down.
So, yeah, a lot has changed in a really short time. I will say it can be a little overwhelming just due to the fact that there is so much little bands out there, so many little guys.
Well, the other thing I was going to say was the production has gone up, and it's more accessible now for everybody to have a quote home studio,
right?
Or it's at the point too, and we've talked about this. Either you and I have, or me and Josh have on a totally different episode of like, you guys don't even have to be in the same room to like practice anymore, And with the advancement of technology comes all these opportunities now for more people to be able to do these things and get their their music out there, your videos on YouTube. And we're going to talk about it here in just a little bit with the music videos, but I mean, even just like the production of their like music videos at the beginning of their existence they're pretty good. They're not like hey mom, can I borrow the home camera real quick? Me and my buddies want to shoot a music video.
They didn't grab a potato out of the refrigerator and try to record with it.
Oh my gosh, man, just plug it into here, it'll work. I saw it in science class. Yeah, so it's very interesting to like sit there and think about. And I know Josh was like trying to figure it out on the original episode. I'm not trying to knock them for like, oh, you guys didn't do the work, blue collar work or whatever. I mean, take what's given to you, right? I mean, take the opportunities.
They had the tools. They used them.
Why not, man? It's just interesting to see how quickly things have changed in such a short amount of time. To where it's just like, you're out there on the street back in the day, doing your thing, and we had to play these local shows to, get our name out there.
It is strange that they didn't have to play the little stuff.
Right.
It's almost like they started on top of their game.
Right.
Which is a really strange way to do it.
The other thing, too, they did was they decided instead of wasting our time, our energy, and the money trying to travel around and play these small venues, let's hold that money back and let's put it towards the production of our music, the production of the music videos, different stuff like that. Which, that's a smart business move, especially if you're getting a free loan. It's not free, but what I'm trying to say. If you're getting a loan from the government, man, and they helping you out.
With a premium low interest rate.
Nice. Yeah. So, speaking of music videos, Eric, me and Josh kind of had a funny discussion about this. Give me your crowd. Well, let me back up. Are you a music video fan?
Yes and
Okay.
no, but yes.
Okay, that's fine. What is your criteria for a music video? So, kind of give you some examples. Like, should the band be? Should it just be the band playing? Should it be them playing and accompanied by actors telling a story, or can the band members be the actors in the story, or do you not want to see the band at all and just like actors in a story? You know what I'm trying to say.
It's a case-by-case basis.
Okay, just depends on the band.
Well, I'll give an example of a band that
Or
does all of that.
Okay.
But, I mean, it song by song, video by video, band by band, it doesn't have to have a archetype for me just to say it's got to have the band playing for at least 32 seconds. It's got to have this much storyline to it. It's got to have, I don't need all that specific whatnot in it.
Right.
One example, I do like, videos where the band's playing for primarily majority of it.
Okay.
Talking about Bring Me the Horizon. We got Pray for Plagues.
Mm-hmm.
Primarily that's all, the band or Ollie singing or whatnot. Those teeth. I love that so
That's
much.
pretty
Still to
cool,
this
man.
day. That was the coolest thing when that came out. Shadow Moses, another one by them. It's got that double camera work, kind of going
okay.
back and forth, side to side. And it almost makes it look like double vision going on.
Oh, okay.
It's a really cool effect.
I haven't seen it. Yeah.
But again, another Bring Me the Horizon song, primarily playing, throughout most of the video.
Right.
Unleash the Archers has a song called Faster Than Light on the other side of this. And that it's based off some movie or book where if you stop running around this track, then you're shot.
Whoa. Okay.
And so primarily throughout most of this is the band as the actors running around this track,
Okay.
slowly being eliminated,
Oof.
member by member.
Yeah.
And
Who's the first member killed? The bassist.
I can't
Because
remember.
we don't even need him.
I know the last one was the lead singer, and she was given a.
It's always the lead singer's the last.
Well, yeah, but she was given a like roses and chocolates and whatnot, and given a limo. And then the same guy who was in the stands, knocking them off all throughout the video, comes up, has the window roll down, ends the video.
No.
I was like, oh, that's
But
kind
she was the
brutal.
winner.
So, but anyway, completely not playing at all throughout that entire video. I don't think there was an instrument in that at all, unless it was somewhere in the background I couldn't even see.
Yeah.
But and same goes for It Never Ends by Bring Me the Horizon.
That's a good one.
That has long been one of my favorite music videos.
That is a great
and I don't
music
think
video,
there's a single shot of them playing in throughout
Nope.
that.
Nope.
Ollie, there's a part where it looks like he's hanging, but kind of dragging behind the ambulance.
He's
Yeah,
a
doing
ghost.
the
He's a
weird
ghost.
ghosty thing. Yeah, out of body, but he's singing the lyrics as he's doing that. That's about as much band interaction as you get, other than Ollie being the patient. No,
That's honestly, dude. That's probably my favorite Bring Me the Horizon song.
I love that
That's
video.
a sick song, man.
If it wasn't for
And
that
he's
video,
very
it's a
great,
pretty
too.
good song in my opinion. But if it wasn't for that video, I love that video because of the song.
Okay. Yeah.
So, or I love the song because of the video. There we go. There we go.
There you go.
But anyway, so getting into the band we're actually talking about here, I like both.
Yeah.
It seems primarily what Spiritbox does is actors telling a story with their music.
Right.
And I don't mind that, except for when it's extremely weird and creepy, like Hurt You. Super creepy and weird. I guess it is Courtney for the most part in Secret Garden with her weird headdress situation.
Well, it was
But
so Secret Garden. See, the story is, you told me a friend of yours or a friend of ours was scared by. Was it Holy Roller?
I was thinking it was Secret Garden, like just creeped him out.
Well, so that's what I thought it was. Well, you told me Secret Garden. I think it ended up being Holy Roller. In the end is what it is. It's the
don't
one
know.
with like the demon looking.
No, that's Hurt You.
Does that hurt you? Okay,
Yeah.
and then
That's the one that gets me. That's
okay,
the one that's like, ooh, okay.
Okay, so you told me Secret Garden, and I remember like I was like, oh boy, here we go. So I sat down one day and watched it, and I was just waiting, and I was waiting, and like it gets to the end of the video, and I'm like, all right, there's got to be a mistake here because there's nothing scary about this music video at all. And then, yeah, I saw that one who hurt you. I was like, oh, look at this one. That's the one right there. Okay, that must be it. Okay.
That's the one that gets me, and I'm
That's
like,
the
what
one.
is going on?
I'm not watching that.
So, yeah.
So, okay. So,
As a whole, their music videos are a little odd for me.
Okay. Yeah, a little different.
Yeah, like Hurt You. It's probably one of my favorites by them, but it's a rough watch. I think I've seen it twice total at this point because I watched it once and I was like, it's not that bad. Is it really? Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
Second time through, it still was. So as a side note on Hurt You, by the way, the video, it actually might be about a song from their, it would be their first EP, The Mara Effect.
Mm-hmm.
The Mara Effect is essentially like this sleep paralysis demon, as I guess Courtney described it one time. And that's almost what that creepy demon looks like walking around the halls of that crazy place.
Yeah, okay.
Is this sleep paralysis demon type thing. So I don't know if there's like a connection there or if that's just a common thread in her mind. Sounds like a terrifying place, but
scary.
Anyway, I just thought that was kind of a neat possible connection.
Oh, yeah. Okay, cool. Okay, so is it just me, or do you ever read a track list from a band and get like bad feeling vibes based solely off of the song titles?
Yeah, sometimes.
Yeah, I think the one Josh referenced was, he said, I think he was like, "Circle with me," and I was just like, no, I'm not listening to that. And so that it kind of spawned off of that. I was like, yeah, I remember like nothing specific on like Spiritbox that comes to mind, but just I can remember like bands in the past where it's like you like a band that you like really is putting out a new album. You're like, oh, here's a track list. First time getting to read it. And you're like, oh,
ew.
I'm just not getting good vibes from these song titles, man. So yeah, I just wanted to see what you thought.
Yeah, for me, it's the ones that they use the old tropes just over and over. Like we talked a little bit on the last episode about the song "Lady."
Lady.
Man, we've seen that 3 times.
Yeah.
I don't need to see it anymore.
Can you be any more original?
Can you be any more unoriginal even?
Yeah.
Like if you start doing stuff like that, or it just gets real old, and I'm like, this is going to be repetitive, uninspired.
Are you just like
junk.
out of ideas at this point?
Right.
Yeah. I used to have a thing too. It's like back in the day, if the song title name was mentioned in the song, that I was just like, I'm out. I don't know why. It just like it always felt cooler to me if you didn't mention the name of the song title in the song. I don't know why, but I've gotten over that.
Here's a song called Thunder Chunky.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Yeah. So, I mean, yeah. Anyway. Eric, you went over 1 so far, buddy. Are you ready?
I'm doing great.
Are you ready to go over 2? Hopefully you will get this one. I would hope you would.
Maybe. Who knows?
What band did the current Spiritbox bassist Josh Gilbert come from?
Gilbert, you say?
Gilbert? What's eating Josh Gilbert? Gilbert.
Wilbur. Oh, that's not the right thing.
Wilbur. No, but it's fun.
Let's see here. I know that name. Boy, it's been a day.
I know you do, man. I know you know that name. Would you like a hint?
Yeah, go ahead.
It is
one hint.
Now I'm gaslighting myself. Is it one of his favorite bands? I think it's one of your
14,
favorite bands.
right?
It was okay. It wasn't on your top 14 listener list, but we talk about this band a lot.
I'm thinking it was Oh Sleeper, wasn't it?
No, we've already had that reference for the day.
Oh,
No, sir. Close though. There is some relation to Oh Sleeper. It's the band As I Lay Dying. He was the bassist for As I Lay Dying. Yeah. All right. Speaking of members here, Josh Gilbert was at one point just a touring member of the band Spiritbox. He is now a full-time member though. So I want to talk about touring / session musicians because me and Josh talk about that a lot. I mean, why? What's the deal? I mean, maybe it's a deal sometimes too where it's like the people have other things going on in their life. Cool, whatever. But why can't the so-called session members or touring members just be full-time members, especially if they're reoccurring people? I guess he didn't make a reference. I made a reference. So one of my favorite bands, Manchester Orchestra, they used to have a full-time keyboardist, and then he left several years ago. And oh man, has it been over 13 years? It may have been 13 years ago. Wow.
I told you we're old.
Yeah, I know. And time flies. But anyway, since he left, they still do some like keyboard stuff in like the recordings, and it's handled by the two guitarists, kind of co-writing stuff or whatever. But when they do live shows, they actually have a touring member that does the keyboards, and it's been the same guy ever since the original guy left. And so I'm sitting there, I'm like, well, why can't you just like bring that guy in? I mean, he's been with you all these years on the tour, so why not just be like, bro, come on? I mean, obviously you like him, you get along with him, or you wouldn't have brought him on tour. So I don't know. What's your opinion on that?
I think it's dumb.
I think Josh asked who was doing the keyboards and the programming in Spotify in Spiritbox,
right?
Because I think that's where it really got brought up. He's like, I hear these keys and these programming, but I see no keyboardists on their member list. So who's doing that? And why are they da. So I don't know, man. You're in agreement with us though, right?
Right.
It's like if you got this person that's continuously doing it, either being a session member or a touring member, just bring him in. Just bring him in. Just end it. Like you did with Josh Gilbert.
I'd be willing to bet, honestly, though, it's probably having to do with stupid logistics or royalties.
Yeah, that may be part of it, too. I didn't think about logistics, but yeah.
And at the end, if you follow the money, I bet you'll find the root of this problem 99% of the time. Whether it's royalties or whether it's, I don't want to split the tour with 4 people when I could split it with 3 people or whatever the numbers are going to be,
Money. What's wrong with you people?
I'd be willing to bet 99% of the time, like I said, when we bring this up, it's probably something to do with following the money.
Probably. We're not doing it for the money. We're doing this podcast for free.
Because we love you guys.
Because we love you guys. And we love history. And we love cores. And history of those cores.
And you ought to listen to them.
Maybe you ought to listen to them.
So we're giving these bands right here, right now.
Yeah, write it down. Grab a pencil and a pad. Write these band names down. Okay, so... Yeah, okay. One last final question here. I know maybe in our notes it's got 2, but I'm skipping over the quote-unquote final one because we already talked about Fear of Fear already. You already made mention to that. I don't know if you had any more thoughts maybe you wanted to bring up on that or not. But...
I could go track by track if you like, but hey.
I will say, I'll give you this on for me. It's like I'm not a fan of the album, but I do like the artwork though. The artwork's pretty interesting.
I mean, just to wrap that one up, basically to me, I know it's not a full-length album yet,
right?
But it's not feeling like a cohesive thing.
Okay.
It feels like.
Do you listen to that and are you worried about what the full length will be? Because you have to think a full length's coming next, right?
And I would assume at least some of those are going to be on the full length.
I don't like that. I don't like that though.
We'll see on that. We will see. It's not feeling cohesive right now to me.
I don't say that I don't like that because I don't like those songs. I say that because it's like I don't like it when people make an EP and then we're just gonna bring all 5 of those songs onto this 10-song full length. Well, I've already heard 5 of them. What the heck?
I will say they didn't do that for the first bit,
right?
So for most of them anyway. I mean, they brought out singles and then put those on the main one.
I would hope they don't.
But as far as like the Mara Effect trifecta, they didn't bring that into anything. They didn't bring any of the what do they call it?
Singles collection.
Yeah, the singles collection.
Yeah,
they didn't really bring any of those over.
Is it a single collection or is it an EP?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, so that's Fear of Fear. So we'll finish with their full-length album, Eternal Blue. It was 2021's most anticipated album, according to some. In your opinion, though, Eric, did it live up to that hype?
It's really hard to live up to hype like that.
That's a
high bar.
Yeah.
So I think as a whole it held its own, But as far as 2021, you're coming up against a few albums I wrote down here.
Okay. Yeah.
Era by Era.
Era.
So you got your self-titled album by Era. That was a pretty good album. You've got a couple bangers right out of the gate on that one. I mean, that's just a really good album. This one's for Josh here. Rise Against, you've got Nowhere Generation.
Oh, boy.
As far as albums go, that one was highly anticipated too and well received by fans.
Okay. What about the critics?
Well, we don't talk about them anymore. We got Wage War brought out.
What does JesusFreakHideout.com say?
Wage War brought out one called Manic, and apparently it hit really good with a lot of fans.
Seen a lot of like trends here of your Spotify.
Right. This one is for Josh. I did make this actually for him. You got Radical came out. You know,
It was a good one.
Every Time I Die, pretty good one. I mean, it's no map change.
He says it's like it's a full album.
But
it's that song on repeat.
But anyway, not to mention other things like Ice Nine Kills had an album that came out that was apparently really, really pretty good. I got people in my friend group that are all about it.
Oh, okay.
And Beartooth, again, same thing. Really highly praised album that came out by them. As a whole, it did hold up pretty good, but the best albums of this little era hit in 2020 and 22. 21 was an odd spot.
Yeah. Well,
So-
one of the things, too, is like you've got a lot of bands that were supposed to release stuff in 2020 and they ended up having to hold on to it. I don't know if
And
that
a lot of them ended up holding on to until 22.
Yeah, and I don't know if that like plays into like I don't know. I don't know what I was gonna say.
So, anyhow, that's
So wait,
it did all right.
No, wait, did it live up to your hype?
It did all
It
right
did
as
all
far
right.
as the hype goes. I mean, it's hard to live up to the hype that they
Yeah.
got for that because they were like, oh, this
What
band
is-
is going to do stuff.
What are you looking forward to seeing on their next full length? What's something that like some boxes to check? I know that's kind of spur of the moment, but
I mean, let's see. I like if we're bringing stuff from like older albums, kind of pulling it in.
yeah.
I do like her heavier stuff now.
Well, and I think that's the thing about it. It's like I talked about at the beginning of this episode. There's so much like kind of experimentation
Right.
like with their sound. It's like I would hope by the time we get to the second one that we're really, it doesn't have to be like nailed into the ground solid, this is what it is, but I need to have some like direction here because I feel
Right.
like I'm just lost without a map. I need you to give me that map of like, okay, here's where we're gonna go. This is what we're gonna go with, kind of
Yep.
loosely. But anyway, go ahead.
So things like from like their full length, you're getting like let's see, Silk in the Strings is a really heavy one. I don't think she sings in that one actually. That's a heavy one. I would like to see more of that going forward. I know, like I said, she wants to sing more. I mean, Hurt You, it's got a hook in there that, you hear that hook and I'm like, oh, that's such a good song. And what is it? I think Circle With Me, actually, or Circle With You, whatever the name of the song is.
Circle with me, I think.
That one's a pretty good mix as far as singing, screaming. It's a good middle ground. That's something I'd like to see is more of that middle ground.
Okay.
Because we go hardcore Constance, and then we go all the way over to like Silk and the Strings again. Can we just get a little more in the middle?
I need a little middle ground, man.
And maybe even a little middle on the heavy side?
Yeah.
Because we get middle on the light side, like Sunkiller, the very first song on that album. Throughout most of the song, it's pretty light, pretty airy, and then you get to the end,
Sun Killer.
and it's like, wow,
Woo.
that's amazing. But at the same time, the overtone of the song is softer rather than heavier. So anyway, that going forward, I want to see that middle ground, maybe leaning a little more towards the heavy at times, because she can do it, and when she does, it's fantastic,
Yeah. Cool.
in my opinion.
All right, let's wrap it up with your favorite album, songs, lyrics, riffs, artwork. The floor is yours, Eric.
Well, we've got one whole album. Eternal
Oh yeah,
Blue.
what's your favorite? Well,
But if
I
you
guess
do
I can
include all the
group
EPs,
everything, yeah.
I still think it's a good spot for them right now.
Okay.
Overall, it's a good listen through. I do put it on fairly often. So
Okay.
it's a good one.
Cool.
Good entry point, and I think it's most people's entry point at this point.
Yeah.
Unless you're unfortunate enough to see their collab. But
Woo!
gosh,
That Beyonce one's coming.
shots fired, and I mean it. So lyrics that I like. This one comes from Hurt You. Imagine that, right? We are failing in crisis mode, mutually assured destruction. Love the proxy and burn the bones. So I smile in the snare of devotion. I hope you find what you're fighting for. I am happier when I hurt you.
Nice.
And then Silk in the Strings, we've got you wrap me up like silk in the strings that pluck me to feed. I escape, but I carry you with me. Harvest and bring a yield, sickening. A mistake, but I carry you with me.
Ooh.
That's a really cool
Here's
song
our
with a really cool metaphor throughout the entire thing with a moth in the silky strings of the spider.
Mm.
Really cool thing throughout the entire song. I like that a lot.
Cool.
So songs, we'll go with some special mentions.
Special mentions.
We got Bleach Bath. I enjoy that one. It's actually pretty good. It's one of those that comes on after typically one of their albums that I put on. That one will pop on. I'm like, yeah, this is actually pretty good, you know?
Yeah.
Out of their newer stuff, actually Angel Eyes.
Mm-hmm.
It's a quite a bit heavier song. Ironically, it's a brighter spot for me. It's a very dark song, but it's a brighter spot in their newer stuff for me.
Okay.
So we'll move into number 3.
Number 3.
Number 3 is a 3-way tie because I feel like it's a part of this.
Cheap. Go on.
It's a part of the same thing. It's the Mara effect. Part 1, 2, and 3.
Number 3.1. Number 3.2 and number 3.3.
So they're softer as a whole, but they're really interesting. Very rarely a skip among them.
What were they again? I'm sorry.
The Mara effects.
Okay, all 3, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And they play 1, skip, 2, 3 on the album, I
Right.
believe.
Yeah, I think you're right. Because that's,
Kind of weird little thing in between
Yeah.
them, but anyway, I really enjoy those.
Cool.
So moving into number 2
Number 2.
is Hurt You.
I always think of 9 Inch Nails or Johnny Cash. I hurt myself today.
Well, the first time I heard this song, I'm playing the album full through. I had to backtrack and listen to this one again.
Oh, okay.
Because I love the lilt in her voice when she says "hurt you." I can't even explain how she says that, but man, it hits and it's like woo. I like that.
Okay.
Something about it just makes my ears tickle and tingle, and it's great.
Right. Okay. Cool.
And then number 1.
Number 1.
Probably the heaviest song I know from them, Silk in the Strings.
Nice.
I will put that song on repeat sometimes because it's so good. Like I said, the whole metaphor with the whole song and everything like that, it's just a really good one.
Cool. Awesome, man. Anything else? Final thoughts on Spiritbox?
I'm kind of with you. They're a great band right now. I think they're good. Moving forward, I'm a little tentative to see where we go.
Yeah, I'm hesitant.
Give Iwabo a try. I Wrestled a Bear Once is where they came from.
The roots.
I mean, I feel like that was her foundation moving forward. Courtney moved into Spiritbox. Go back and listen to the foundation.
Check out Unicron too. I mean, that one EP is pretty good. So,
Yeah.
Powerbomb.
History is well worth the try.
History is a beautiful thing. You know what I'm proud of? Not one time did I say Spirit Fox. I was shocked. That's not me. Who am I? I don't even know who I am today. Yep, Spiritbox. Give them a listen if you are living under a rock and you've never heard of them. Yeah. All right, here we go. Make sure to follow us on Twitter @IsSurvivedByPro for news and the latest episode postings, not just on this show, but our other shows as well. We have the Pop Pop Podcast, the History of the Chorus podcast, where me and Josh take a look at histories of bands from the core genre. And then me and Erik come on this very podcast, the After Hours podcast, later on and discuss those bands as well. more in a chillax way. We also have the Red Right Hand podcast, which has covered all 6 seasons of the BBC/Netflix hit show The Peaky Blinders. And you also have the Throne of the Dragon podcast, which so far has covered season 1, soon to be season 2 of HBO's House of the Dragon. Also, while you're on Twitter, make sure to follow my co-host at Joshua Lynn Gary. Make sure to leave us a 5-star review and write us a comment on whatever podcast service you're using. And you want to listen to us, see our smiling faces, head on over to our YouTube page. Just search Is Survived by Productions. And that'll have every episode from all of our shows. Subscribe to the channel. Thumbs up the video. It's on your thumb.
Oh no.
Oh my gosh. Ugh, don't ever show that thumb again.
I gotta go.
Not that thumb. Alrighty, we will see you in the next episode where we're going to talk about the legendary band known as AFI. We'll see ya.